بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وآله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. اللهم ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر أولياءك في غزة. اللهم انصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم فرج عن إخواننا في غزة وفي فلسطين كلها. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربهم وثبت أقدامنا وأقدامهم والطف بنا وبهم يا أرحم الراحمين. صل وسلم على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وآله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Much current work in political economy describe capitalism or its varieties as self-equilibrating system of complementary institutions stabilizing each other in the pursuit of efficiency and economic performance, or of different variants thereof. Politics comes in as the collective design and maintenance of institutions that provide for the optimal functioning of the respective type of capitalism conceived as market economy. So politics comes in as the collective design and maintenance of institutions that provide for optimal functioning. This is the sharp contrast to traditional accounts of capitalism and capitalist society from Smith and Marx to Schumpeter. See in particular his essay, that is Schumpeter's The Instability of Capitalism, and Keynes, that emphasize its endogenous dynamism, critical instability, and continuous change. Accounts that I claim are today more pertinent than at any other time in post-war period. So Marx, Schumpeter, Keynes, they emphasize the endogenous dynamism, critical instability rather than equilibrium, and continuous change. On the other hand, the current this is more like a abstract model, which is sort of assumed to be operating in reality. Capitalism is and always was about capital accumulation, or in modern terms, or modern expression, economic growth. Not just accumulation, but accumulation for the sake of accumulation. So there's a difference. Capitalism is about accumulation, but not just accumulation for the sake of accumulation. What does that mean? It means that the sole purpose of accumulation is to accumulate more, and everything else is subservient to this purpose. That's the ideal type. And to the extent that any system approaches or fulfill to certain extent this ideal type, that system may be termed as a capitalist system. So that's important. So when there's an accumulation for some specific purpose, then there's that there's a limit. That puts a limit on capitalism. So that's not a full-fledged capitalism in that sense. And growth takes place in the form of an expansion of markets, subsuming traditional relations like family and sacrifice and honor, and other traditional values. So subsuming, and we'll come to that, why it subsumes relation of social exchange under the money economy, and replacing the relation of reciprocity with catalectic relation, that is, relations of exchange. So that's Polanyi's, where he defines capitalist society as a society. So the difference between capitalist society and non-capitalist society is described by Polanyi as, so capitalism is about accumulation for the sake of accumulation, or growth for the sake of growth. And if you have markets which functions on this principle, you get a different type of relationship between society and market. Because according to Polanyi, in traditional societies, market is embedded in social relations. So your social relations are the relations which define you primarily as an individual, and your status as a buyer or seller, or the status of an exchange within market, is embedded in these social relations and moral relations and subservient to that. On the other hand, when growth becomes accumulation for the sake of accumulation becomes your sole purpose, then you get a society which is actually subservient to the market, in the sense that market relations, or the relations of exchange, basically define individuality and social relations. So in a sense, society becomes adjunct to the market, in the sense of the traditional society become adjunct to the market, and you have a new social order which is actually modeled on, as far as it is possible, exchange relations. So that's what they're saying. This is a process which Rosa Luxemburg, in her work on imperialism, called land grabbing, in a more than just literal sense, obviously, because land grabbing is actually the very basis of capitalism and imperialism, which comes with capitalism. So capitalist land grabbing through market expansion is accompanied by, so the biggest land grabbing actually occurred in Britain in 16th century under Henry VIII, and that period, I think, provides the foundation of modern capitalism more than any other period. That's why Britain was the prime capitalist entity and the main imperialist state, until it was replaced by America after the World War I and II. Capitalist land grabbing through market expansion is accompanied by a deep transformation of social structures and social life. So you get a new type of society. It is in this sense that Marx's founding document, the Communist Manifesto, refers to the bourgeoisie as the most revolutionary class in human history. Revolutionary meaning that there's a big revolutionary in the sense that capitalism is a revolution, in the sense that it founds a new type of individual. So it's a revolution in all three levels. Capitalist revolution. At the level of individual, at the level of society, and at the level of state. So you get a capitalist individuality, capitalist society, and capitalist state, in which all these three are reconstituted based on the idea of accumulation for the sake of accumulation, or idea of freedom, and its related values, equality and progress, which we can subsume under the general umbrella of humanism. So in that sense, capitalism is a revolution, but it's a revolution. But Marxism is not a revolution in the sense of a class revolution. Because bourgeoisie become an agent of capitalism to the extent that it inculcates and self-discipline itself based on capitalist rationality. So in that sense, every individual is a potential capitalist. So it's not a class thing in any. A laborer can be a capitalist, and a rich person can be a non-capitalist depending on the type of rationality which they have inculcated. So in that sense, Marx is wrong, obviously. And also Marxists consider this revolution as something positive, something progressive, something which is better than what came before in many ways. So obviously, in that sense, Marx is a capitalist par excellence. And his critique of capitalism is not that capitalism is bad, but it is not consistent enough. Okay. So importantly, there is no need for capitalist expansion to be caused from outside. Outside of what? Once a capitalist economy has been put in place, the tendency to expand is a fundamental property of capitalism. Any capitalism that is worth its name or its money is necessarily on the move and always from within. In what sense? So capitalist expansion is not caused from outside. What does that mean? I mean, to the extent that it is the inner logic of capitalism to expand, because capitalism means accumulation for the sake of accumulation. So it is always on the move, because you need movement in order to accumulate. And it is an inner logic, in the sense that that's what capitalism is. It's not some constraint which is imposed on capitalism from outside. And capitalism, this self-expansion, is also a move. So capitalism starts at the fringes of non-capitalist societies, and it is expansionist in the sense that it slowly colonizes and then reconstitutes every part of non-capitalist society and turn it into a capitalist society. That's one way. And also in the sense that it is self-expansionist in the sense that start from within, on the fringes of non-capitalist society, then captures cities and captures a state and builds its own state, and then it expands throughout the globe. So it's a globalist, it's a universalist, and there are no limit to its expansions, except for the factual limits which are there, as long as it is unable to overcome them. But it is always trying to overcome those limits. And the basic limit it is trying to overcome is scarcity. Through accumulation. Okay, so importantly, there's no need for a capitalist expansion, because from outside, once a capitalist economy has been put in place. But capitalist economy has been as the tendency to expand as a fundamental property of capitalism. That's true. And any capital that's worth its name or its money is necessarily on the move, because without move you don't have accumulation, always from within. That's its natural tendency, if we might use that word. And it obviously, historical capitalism might face factual limits, but it's always striving to overcome those factual limits, whether they are factual limits put by nature or any non-capitalist society and its norms, etc. Okay, let's stop here and we'll continue from permanent revolutions. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب